Hi, my name is Sonia Saraiya. I'm the television critic for Vanity Fair. And it is my great privilege to introduce the cast and crew of Euphoria. Sam Levinson, creator. Zendaya, the star. Hunter Schafer. Yes. Barbie Ferreira. And Dane. Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Was it really nerve-wracking to hear a whole bunch of people reacting to the episode?
No, this is a great audience.
Yes, true.
It was such a relief. It was really exciting. Thank you for having us.
So there are lots of teen shows on television. It's a staple. This is a very different kind of high school show. Tell me a little bit about developing this idea and how you found your cast.
Well, I had gone into HBO, and I sat down with Francesca Orsi, who, I love you. You are the best executive in the world, and thank you for everything. And we sat down, and I had seen the Israeli format, and we talked about, I said, what do you like about it, and we kind of gone back and forth and talked about kind of how raw and sort of unflinching it was, and then we just talked about our respective lives, and I mean, a lot of this stuff is very true. I was a drug addict for many years, and I had a lot of anxiety, and I really struggled with depression. And I got clean at the age of 19. I've been clean for 14 years. But and it wasn't easy, and it's still not easy. And I think, I think at the end of the day, what we were talking about. I was talking to Franny about it. It's just there's, even though I got clean at 19, and I still struggle with all the kind of the anxiety, the depression, all of those things that first led me to want to quiet it and snuff it out in my own head. And 10 years had kind of gone by, and then I met someone who, my wife Ash, who kept me. It was the first time I felt like I could stay afloat, and I think in some ways that's what this show is about. It's that if you keep your heart open, there's people that can change your life. And I talked. And Franny and I talked to her, and she said, "Great, go write that." And I was like, I said, "Write what?" She goes, just put yourself into it. Just go. Just keep putting yourself into it. And sort of every step of the way, I think from the pilot on, she just encouraged me to just put more and more and more of myself into this show. And I remember I was very nervous about handing in this pilot because I thought, I'm either gonna get fucking fired or maybe they'll dig it. I don't know, but it was a little nerve-wracking, and they really they supported it from the very beginning, and I'm very grateful for that. And then, in terms of this unbelievable cast, I mean, I don't even know where to begin, but I am so grateful for every single one of you. I mean, it's really what I love most about our cast, and it was a long process. We had scouts across the country. Jennifer Vanity, Mary Vernew, Jess Kelly, our casting directors. I mean, really, we went everywhere, and we read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. But about, I think, a year before we made this show, I had gone into HBO, and I had a picture of Z as Rue on this kind of mood board with like lighting plans and Todd Hido references or whatnot, and I for some reason I felt that she was Rue. I also felt that there was no way on planet Earth she would do it because of the content. And then I think late into the casting process, it was pretty late into it. We got a call that she had read it and wanted to sit down and meet. And she came in and a hoodie with her glasses on and sat down, and we just started talking. And I thought, this is real. This is real. And even still, you completely superseded all my expectations. Because I think the hardest thing about portraying a drug addict is understanding. There's a lot of there's a lot of cautionary tales. There's a lot of after-school specials. But what I really wanted to get at the core of, which is the pain and the shame about what you're doing, and your inability to get clean despite the havoc and destruction you're wreaking around you. And that is a tricky thing for an actor to pull off, but you do it with a level of warmth and humor and sensitivity that I could never have dreamed of. And thank you for that.
Zendaya, do you want to talk a little bit about how you came to Rue and what excited you about the character?
Just reading the script. It was very interesting because I was kind of in this phase of my career where I've been working consistently on something since I was like 13 years old. So this was the first time in my life that I didn't have a job really, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I feel like there was like a lot of pressure to figure out what that next thing was, and people are like, how is she gonna step out? Is she gonna do this? Is she gonna do that? And I had all these ideas of what the right move for me to make was, and then everything I read just wasn't clicking with me. Nothing felt like it was the right thing, and I didn't want to just say yes because I didn't have anything else, you know? And then Euphoria came along, and I read it, and I fell in love with it immediately, and I cared for Rue, and I cared for the characters, and I was like, I need to meet whoever made this, and all the doubts that I had and the worries that I had, I just like completely disappeared, and I just felt like I had to be a part of this. And then I met Sam, and we talked, and I clearly, understood why it's such a special project and why I was drawn to it. And I was just grateful that he saw beyond anything else I had done before, because when he told me that I was on his board of Rue, I was like, Sam, there's nothing you watched in my career up until this point that said, that girl, she's got what it takes to play me, you know, in this, she can deliver the performance I need, right? So I was just grateful that he somehow he saw something in me and believed in me in that way. And I was terrified the first day on set. I keep it chill. I always stay chill. I'm terrified right now, but you know what I'm saying? But I never let it show. And but I was terrified, and he always reminded me every day on set. He said, "Z, you're good. I'm not worried about you. You're good." And that sense of I think connection and I think trust that he had in me that I didn't even have in myself yet, I appreciated, and it allowed me to open up and not be so afraid and know that I could do it, because I've been doubting myself for a long time, particularly when you feel stagnant in your career and there's a lot of people doubting that you can do it. You doubt yourself. You're like, shit, can I do it? I don't know. But he never once thought that I couldn't do it. So I'm grateful to Sam for being open with his life and with his art and allowing me to be inside of his brain a little bit and share a little bit of that with the world, you know. So it's still very fresh, but thank you, man.
I will say, just in terms of, you know, we read a lot of people for the role of Jules, and it was interesting. It was like 100 had come in, and she'd read a couple of times, and then she came to HBO, and it was like we saw her in person, and she read, and after that we cast her. I was very excited. And then we sat, she's supposed to go back to New York. I was like, can you just stay in LA for a little bit? Let's go get a cup of coffee or something. I was thinking, well, yes, we'll talk for like an hour or two or something. We ended up talking for like 6 hours straight. And it was the most exciting conversation just as a filmmaker. I'm like, the possibilities are just absolutely endless with what we could do with this show and this relationship and everything. I think that's one of the beautiful parts about television, which I'd never worked in, is that like you don't have to let go of your characters. Like you can just keep pushing it further and further. And it was funny with Barbie. I'll say like Barbie read like 15 times. She kept reading because we were always it's like I don't know. She's so confident and she has such a sense of self. Like I don't know if she can play cat and this that. We went back and forth on this constantly, and finally she had come in to read. We thought great, she was fantastic, cast her. But really it was this moment I think on set where you'd gone into hair and makeup. You came up with a picture of Thora Birch from Ghost World, and you're like, this is it. And you cut your hair. And instantly, you just completely transformed. It was the most unbelievable thing, and Kat was born out of that. And you're remarkable.
Thank you, Sarah.
And then Eric just wandered into the office one day, and he was like, "Hey, I'm Eric. How you doing?" We talked about the show, and within like 2 seconds, I was like, "This is Cal. He's great." He was terrific, and it's just been an absolute pleasure working with you. You are brilliant and just so much fun to work with. I don't know. I'm ranting now, but I love everybody. That's the point.
So the show is very it's very even-handed about, or I guess even explicit about how being a teenager is hard for all of the teenagers. But I think that with the girls in particular, you can see that each of the characters has their own humiliations or violence or addiction that takes over their lives and worms into it from a very gendered perspective. I was wondering, Hunter and Barbie, if you want to talk a little bit about the scenes that your characters are in where you're specifically contending with men who are threatening you or humiliating you, putting your characters down, and what it was like to play those roles and what those things made you think about.
Yeah, I think Jules has come, she's new and has sort of come to town with this routine sort of already built, where I think she relies on these sort of toxic, messy meetups with men in order to feel some sense of affirmation. And obviously it didn't look like very fun for her, but I think it's something deeper than that, and it's deep-rooted and almost similar to an addiction in some ways. Yeah.
And then there's the confrontation with Jacob Elordi's character, and your character pulls out a knife. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, also Jules is, I think, just tough as hell, and I think is somewhat masochistic, but she's just really strong, and she puts herself through this stuff, and then she's able to turn it around and sort of move forward and put this armor on herself. And I think that's what sort of jumped out at that point, where she had already dealt with this really intense hookup with Cal, and then goes to this party, and Nate's spewing at her, and she doesn't want to deal with it, and so I think she just needed to prove to him that she's invincible, and that he can't fuck with her because she knows how to hurt herself better than he can.
I probably shouldn't say this, but that's a true story.
Barbie, do you want to talk about?
How do I follow up that?
There's a bit of Tourette syndrome.
Well, the particular scene with Kat that where she loses her virginity, I think when she's surrounded by her friends who are conventionally pretty, seen, important in the school, or they just have a voice and they feel like teenage girls. And I think Kat hasn't really allowed herself to do that because of her insecurities and kind of, she's very funny and her humor is what really kind of propels her there, and she knows that. She's very talented. You guys will come to see in the next episodes. But just being a sexual being, I think, is incredibly hard to grasp when people don't see you in that way. And taking control over one's sexuality and, playing this part like she is, obviously, she's not a savage. Spoiler alert, yeah. She just wants to feel like she's in power and that people see her as a sexual being and not just the people around her, and that she's visible. And, I think it's very personal to me because I feel like I felt those similar feelings when I was 16 as a chubby girl in high school. It's kind of very hard to feel like you are worthy of attention in that way.
All the teenagers in Rue in particular are pretty cynical about the world. Do you guys agree? Do you relate to her sentiment about how things are going?
Like in real life or in Euphoria?
You in real life, do you feel that?
I mean, not at all.
Back and forth.
Yeah.
It's moments of feeling. I think all young people feel this way. Maybe people in general feel this way of feeling lost, and like there's just so much that you just feel like it's just too much, and it's helpless. It's like, why do I even try? So there's that feeling, but then there's moments of hope and there's moments of beauty within those things. And I think that that's what this show does so well. Is it explores the dark, but it also there's hints and moments of light and hope where you see it and you want to hold on to it, and then it's gone. And then you find it again, and it's gone. And that's kind of how life works, It is what it is. We're storytellers, and we're here to tell people stories, whether they're ours or not, And I think that's true to life.
Amen.
So, each of the characters has such a distinctive look, and I think, Zendaya, you're in particular, you're a very stylish person, but Rue is wearing tie-dye t-shirts a lot of the time, really big tie-dye t-shirts. And then Hunter, Jules is really got a specific aesthetic. There's like the pink frilly backpack, the bike. Do those things reflect, was there any collaboration between you guys on the style or inhabiting those roles? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Heidi Bivens and her team was amazing to work with. And I think, even before the pilot started, she reached out to me, and I love to mood board, and I
think we all did a mood board.
Yeah. And so definitely made pages of inspiration and sent that to her, and then she was like, oh yeah, this is great, and then we just kind of started building it, and it's been building throughout the entire season as arcs happen and whatnot. So yeah, it's been lots of fun, very collaborative.
I was not as thorough as Hunter here. Didn't make any mood boards. Feel bad about that now.
You didn't?
I didn't? I know.
Okay, you're the only one.
Am I, right? Embarrassing. But yeah, it's funny because, I think, yes, I love fashion, I love clothes, and that's also part of this public persona of who I am, because it allows me to kind of, I'm a very introverted person, so it allows me to have some kind of escapism in that way. But in real life, I very much dress and look like Rue. So, it wasn't when he was saying I showed up to the meeting in a hoodie and my Chucks, it's because those are my Chucks that I'm wearing in the show, and they're mine, and that's what I look like. So it wasn't a huge departure in that sense, which actually kind of felt nice. And I think Rue in general, somehow doesn't feel like a far cry from who I am as a human and as a person, which is cool because finding out that it was also Sam, and then as we go along, me and Sam have figured out that we're like the same person, and it just gets weirder and weirder every day. Like we like the same Gatorade flavor, same Dorito flavor.
Which flavors, please?
Lemon, lime.
Lemon, and which Dorito flavor?
Cool Ranch.
Cool Ranch.
Oh, great.
It just, things happen, you know what I mean? So like, and as that process, like somehow we had that connection. So I don't know. So with that being said, Rue may not be always the most fashionable person, but you know, neither am I sometimes. So.
Eric, you are also one of the only people who didn't mood board in the panel, so I just wanted to circle back to you about it.
I didn't want to peak too early.
I imagine that, Hunter, your scene with Eric was a difficult, challenging one to film. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about doing that.
Well, HBO's been using an intimacy coordinator for a lot of its productions, and she's, Amanda, she's been really great in sort of providing a safe environment within a safe environment for us to work in. And, you know, my job was just to make sure that Hunter was okay, and I feel like, conversely, Hunter felt the same way, and then we had the buffer between anybody who might have wanted to influence the scene in a different direction. We had Amanda, and I think it's worked out pretty well. I think a lot of other productions are using it. You know, it's safe. I mean, these scenes are very difficult to do. You know. And anybody watching, you know, certainly not this scene, but some of these other scenes, you know, it might look like it's fun, but, you know, it's very exposing and raw, and it's difficult when you have a lot of eyeballs on you. So Amanda's been an asset for us.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to imagine like a set where an intimacy coordinator wasn't there, because it's my first like acting anything, and so like to have her there was like great, and like it seemed like a good means of communication, and also, yeah, I mean, Eric was great and like super accommodating, and we like.
Yeah, I mean, irrespective of what you saw on the screen, it was a fun day at work, really.
Good to hear. Yeah. So we are going to have a little bit of time for audience questions. There are 2 microphones, and if you have a question, if you would stand up and come to the microphone, that would be awesome. Okay, that guy's got a question.
What's up?
Hi.
Oh,
Hello.
so your shoes are dope as heck, by the way.
Shoes are dope.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Question for Zendaya. In the show, did you literally inhale the good stuff, the weed? You know what I mean? Was that stuff real, or is that like fake?
It's not real, no.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all fake. I don't do any of that, so it was definitely a foreign thing for me.
Cool.
But it's definitely a safe thing. It was like rose petals or
I got
something
you.
like that.
Yeah, rosemary, something like that.
Some real lightweight stuff. Yeah.
Perfectly fine. Second question, last question. Okay. There's an ice cream shop like 8 minutes from here. Amy's Ice Cream.
Shout out.
You trying to go?
I appreciate that. If I had time,
that.
I would, because I love
or
ice cream and I appreciate that.
Is that a straight up no or a maybe right now?
I mean,
you know what I mean? I got this mapped out.
I mean, we'll see.
I'm talking
We'll see.
$15. What you mean?
Well, let's see.
They close at like 12 too.
Okay, we got time.
And you can bring a +1 because I know you don't know me.
Y'all trying to go?
Y'all
trying to go?
Whoever.
We all going. Everybody going ice cream? We all going ice cream. There you go.
Look, you'll be doing great for the economy of Austin as well if we if everybody else will go, because I know y'all hear this. You know that's a good idea. I'm just saying.
Okay.
The real stuff.
Shout out.
Find me or I'll find you.
All right.
Good way.
Okay.
Peace out.
Appreciate it.
Peace out.
Thank you.
Name's Michael, and it's Mikal. Remember that or don't. Let's
I know
get it.
that's right.
Boom.
All right. You over there.
Okay, so Zendaya, you say that you've never done any of the drugs or whatever. So I was wondering, what kind of things did you do in order to help yourself prepare for such a dramatic role that has so much, that obviously needs so much preparation?
Yeah. Well, a couple things. I think I'm lucky because a lot of these stories are so specific, and that's when I have to rely on Sam, who is our leader and our director, but someone that I have to confide in. I have to talk about things that, are triggering and tough to talk about, but he has been so open and wonderful with me, and I ask him, what at this moment, how did you feel? What did you go through? What is this like? And we work on it that way, and I try to infuse whatever I can into it as well. And it's a collaboration, and we just talk and we have the rawest conversation we possibly can, because there's just no filters. There's a lot of trust here, and I think a lot of those scenes, where you have to be emotional or get into that space, I think sometimes the tough thing about acting is all the things that you've dealt with probably in your personal life that you're like, oh, yeah, we're good, like I've moved on, everything's all good. You have to open that up, you have to pull it out, and you have to deal with it, but you just have to deal with it on camera. And then somehow you have to take all that and you have to shove it back in there and like reseal it. And it's tough. And some days it's easier than others. Some days it's a long conversation, and it takes me a second to be able to let myself be unguarded, because I'm a very guarded person. And then some days it's like it's exhausting. Some days you just want to keep crying, keep crying, keep crying. But I think what the good thing is we have such a lovely place on set. We've created such a warm environment, and I remember there was a day he had me crying for hours, and
I'm sorry.
And but what made me cry even more, but in like almost a warm, sweet way, was I heard sniffles around the set, because it's very silent when we're trying to have these moments, and I heard little sniffles around the set. And what that meant was that my sound guys, my prop girls, everybody was in it with me, and they were crying with me. And I felt that, and I felt protected, and I felt safe. And then when I left, everybody kind of, they took a second, and they didn't, they gave me some space, and then they came up to me like, Z, we just wanted to give you a hug. You good? We love you, man. And there was such a love there. And even though it's a scene, they know that we have to go to these places, and everybody has to be so vulnerable in front of each other. So we're lucky that we've created such a warm place where we love each other, and we want everyone to feel safe, because that's the only way to do the best job.
And just a quick follow-up question to follow that about having it be so much of a big impact. I was wondering, did you ever have days where you took that home with you, and what that was like?
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. There's been days where like I had no idea that we were supposed to do like a big dramatic scene, like I came in, it said, Rue and Leslie fight. I'm thinking, okay, it's like, leave me alone, Mom, slam the door, whatever, moving on, right? And that was not the plan that day. Sam had came in on some different shit, and he was like, I want you guys to improv. I want you guys to go at each other's neck and go as hard as you can with each other and just go off. And that was really hard for me, because I'm not a yeller. I'm not that kind of person. I would never, there's kind of a cap. We all know the cap of where we would go with people, how low we would go. And at that point, I had to realize that I wasn't me at this moment. And I had to say things I would never say and do things I would never do. And that made me feel sick. I literally, like, after the scene, I felt like I was gonna throw up. And it had like a physical effect on me. And that whole day, I just wanted to go home. I just wanted to go to sleep. I wanted to go in my bed. I wanted to watch Harry Potter and be happy. You know what I mean?
Thank you so much. I really
yeah, of
appreciate
course.
it.
So it's a day-by-day thing.
Okay, over here.
Hey.
Exactly.
So I have a question. You're making a show that's primarily for adult audiences, right? And I'm wondering how you go about balancing the reality that sex is a part of teenage lives without basically buying into the overt sexualization of teenagers and their bodies, and how you think about that in a sensitive way to where you're being honest, but you're also not crossing a line of just creating something that continues that fetishization of young adults.
Yeah, I think it's a very valid question, because I think anytime you put anything on screen, it runs the risk of glamorizing it just by the sheer nature of it being on screen, right? So how do you portray drug use? How do you portray sex or sexuality in a way that that feels authentic to being young. And I think with respect to the sex scenes, you know, there's a lot of movement in this show in terms of camera. You know, we storyboard every episode. It's about 880 storyboards per episode. So we know every single cut before we go in there. And I think in terms of the sex scenes, I think one of the thing that, the main thing that I think we try to do is to just keep the camera still. If you look at that scene between Cal and Jules in the motel, it's like, it's a shot of her face, it's a shot in the mirror, you know, and that's it. And I think you want to allow for the awkwardness and the discomfort to really, you know, start to bleed into it, because that's what almost all sex when you're young is like. It's awkward. It's like, I don't want to be here. I don't this, you know, and at the same time, you know, I think you know, it's the same thing with drugs, where I'm sensitive to, you know, portrayals of drug addiction. I don't want anyone. I have a child. I don't want anyone to watch something that I
like romanticizing it.
Yeah, romanticizing it. But I think we also have to be authentic about it. We have to say, well, what are the purposes that drugs are serving in one's life? Why is there desire to do drugs? And I think people can tell if we're pulling our punches and we're not showing the relief that drugs can bring. It starts to lose its impact, because drugs can, you know, drugs are not the solution, but they can feel like it at times, and that's what makes them so destructive. So I think it's something that we're really mindful of, and I think there's a lot of conversation about it, and you know, kind of internally, and also it's stuff that we talked about with HBO. It's like we want this to really feel like when you're in these scenes and you're watching these, you know, these young people who are maybe making mistakes, or definitely making mistakes. You know, you want to feel a little bit of helplessness and that feeling of, please don't do that, don't go there.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, I'll take you over here.
Hi. Following that, yikes. As a teen audience member, what do you want people to walk away with from this show as a teen audience, as a teen person who has seen this show? What would you want us to take away from all that?
I think about when I was younger, and I think about the shows that I watched. Like, for instance, My So-Called Life made just a massive impact on me. I reference it even in this show in future episodes. But it's, I remember watching My So-Called Life for the first time, and even though Angela is very different from me, it was the first time I heard myself and the insecurity and this kind of self-questioning, the doubts. And I think being able to see yourself in a character is a really powerful thing. And I think the takeaway is to be empathic, to be compassionate, to show how the little things, the little comments, the moments of humiliation, those little moments when you're young can reverberate through your life for a really, really long time. And to be sensitive to others. I think that's ultimately what it's about. It's about trying to kind of navigate a world that feels pretty unstable and pretty brutal at times, and navigate your own mind, and find a way to create your own meaning in this world, create your own family, and find those that you love and hang on to them.
Thank you.
So from what we've gotten to see today, it seems like everyone is perfectly cast. Everyone's crushing it in the role that they're playing. But if each of you had a chance to play one of the other characters from what we've seen, who would you most like to step into their shoes?
Fesco.
Ashtray.
Exactly.
Cat, maybe.
That's a tough question. They're all such good characters. Oh my God. I can't. Can he come back to me? Because I love them all. I do. I care about them, you know. So that's a tough decision.
You don't.
I never thought about that.
You don't have.
I know, but it's like a pressure.
Thank you.
All right, over here.
Hi. I kid you not, every question I had was taken. So, on the spot, if you could say one thing to your character, what would you say just from this first episode?
Oof.
It gets better.
It gets better. Yeah, relatable.
That's a heavy one.
I didn't know my question was that good, to be honest.
It's good because what I may say may give away. So I'm like,
Okay.
hang in there. You're right.
Yeah. Keep going, but also slow down.
I would say, I think I've thought about this a lot because I think of Rue as as a real person. I think of her as somebody, I don't know if she's a little sister to me or somebody, but I really, really care about her. And I have a tremendous amount of protection and I just want her to do well in life and all this stuff, you know. And I don't think I could tell her anything because I think she's heard it all before, and that's the point, is she can't receive that information. She's got to figure it out on her own. But what I wish for her, what I hope she finds out, and what I hope she allows herself is to accept the good things in her life and to accept the fact that she's worthy of good things. Because I think when you make those kinds of mistakes and you cause that kind of damage, you don't think that you're worthy of good and you continue to damage yourself. And I want her to know that she's good. And I want her to know that she's worthy of love and beautiful things happening and entering her life. And I always say that I feel like there's hope for Rue, because if Sam is any indication of who Rue can be, she'll be all right, you know? So there's definitely some hope there for Rue.
That is very different than hang in there.
Hang in there.
Hang in there.
That was a really good answer.
Right over here.
I just wanted to say, Sam, thank you for telling your story. My daughter, who's almost 21, is diagnosed with BPD, and before her diagnosis, everything that was on the screen was inside of our house, and especially the scenes with the mom buying the over-the-counter drug tests and just being so scared. And I have two more daughters at home who, very much like your little sister in the show, just has to see things and live through them and, be scared like that. But it was after my daughter went through intensive outpatient therapy, I kind of wasn't sure what to do. But I think right now, with this show, my question is, I don't know if her watching it would make her feel less alone, or if it would make her miss that feeling, like those scenes of, when Rue is taking drugs and going to that place. I don't know if it would make her miss that feeling enough, or if it's, if she would more just see the connection, that she's not the only one that struggles with things like that.
Thank you for your question.
I would say it's hard to answer in the sense that my heart goes out to you. But people react so differently to certain things. I remember, and this is the tricky part, it goes back to the question of glamorization or what we put on screen, right? I remember I was 16 years old when I saw Requiem for a Dream. Jared Leto gets his arm cut off in that movie. Sorry for ruining it for anyone, but because of his heroin addiction. And at the time, I was very heavy into opiates and benzos, and I'd had several ODs by that point in my life, and I'd been institutionalized at least four times. And I walked out of that movie theater, and I thought, I really ought to start shooting heroin. And I think what's really tough is I don't think that it's I don't look at this show as a cure for anything, right? I don't look at it as someone's gonna watch this and they'll be okay. But I do think that it's important that we as a culture, we as parents, we as brothers and sisters have empathy for the struggles that people like your daughter are going through. And the more empathy and the more understanding we have, the better chance I believe that she has of succeeding and flourishing and becoming the person you know she can become. And I think that's what it's about.
Thank you.
All right.
Zendaya, what was it like going from Disney to this?
Please tell me you were not in here for this. Oh my God. Oh. Your parents are responsible. Okay. Woo! It's a big jump. It's very different. And I just, I think what's really important is that it's done in a space where I can take that next step in my career, but it's done in a place where it's best to do that. So yeah, it's nerve-wracking.
First off, I want to say this. I'm literally shaking right now. And Zendaya, I looked up for you for 8 years. You're my role model. I wish you were my big sister. I'm even wearing like my Tommy X Zendaya DIY bracelet.
Oh, thank you.
And I just think that's like great how you just put yourself in that mindset to play a character like this from your other characters. And one question I have for like all of y'all is, what did you take from set if you took anything?
Like emotionally, or
like stealing,
or literally,
If we could just
or like
steal
taking,
something.
like just stealing something.
We stealing.
Not
Like a souvenir.
yeah, souvenir.
I took Rue's hoodie. Yeah.
Mine is not so fun. I stole a pair of Spanx.
I think I took a pair of sweatpants.
We're so fun.
You have a whole outfit between the three of you.
Well, look.
I stole models of all the houses that we built. I'm sentimental that way.
That's cooler.
I didn't take anything.
The
Hi
lack
guys.
of clothes. The lack of clothes you're wearing, yeah.
I'm going to interrupt this briefly. This is it. This is the last questions, okay? Sorry. All right, go on.
Hi guys, y'all are awesome. First of all, Zendaya, I love you so much. Me and my sister love you so much. I am a young film student, and Sam, I was gonna ask what would you give advice to young filmmakers out there who are just starting out in the industry?
I would say just start shooting. Allow yourself to make mistakes. Start cutting, start doing, just start making. And if it's terrible, just keep going and don't stop and don't give up and don't let anyone tell you that you can't do something, that some story is not universal enough, that, that this is impossible to make. Just keep fighting for it. Believe in what you do and just keep driving no matter how many brick walls are in front of you, because you got to have faith that they're just going to move the fuck out of the way.
Yeah. Thank you.
Lady.
Hello. I am also a film student, and the reason I got into film was because, like, growing up, I didn't see people like me on TV specifically. And so I know, Zendaya, for you, representation is something that, like, is really important to you. And this really goes out to anyone who wants to answer it, but how does Euphoria kind of take representation and not necessarily, like, tokenizes it, but make sure that, like, people like me and people who aren't like me are seen?
I mean, I think one of my favorite things, like from the very beginning, I remember reading the scripts, was that each character, while having their own identities, is allowed to have a story and an arc that is beyond just the sort of identity box. Like, we are allowed to have more than an identity crisis or something like that. Like, each character is like able to be amorphous and like have complicated and deep stories, and I think that's really exciting because we get to move forward, I think, from, you know, one storyline and branch out from there.
I would definitely say that this is like, for me, it's like, you know, you don't see roles like this just laying around anywhere, and I feel very grateful and lucky that I found it, or it found me, whatever it may be. But with that being said, I mean, it very well, if, you know, he could have made Rue just be a white dude, honestly, and so I'm lucky that that wasn't, again, the identity box that he formed around what Rue's character could be, because that allowed me to have the opportunity to play her. So I think, like, to what she says, is just everyone is allowed to just exist, which is really, really important as well, you know?
Yeah, and I think that the interesting thing is, even though a lot of this stuff is personal and it's and they're real stories and stuff, and there's something about giving it away and allowing, and I do this always whenever I cast someone, I sit down, we talk about life, and I try to just shape the character a little bit more towards who they are as an individual, because the more that an actor has of themselves, and the closer it becomes to who they are as a human being, I think the more authentic it becomes, and the more ownership one has over the role, and the more delicate they are, the more they want to protect that character. I think it's a really, really kind of key aspect of filmmaking, at least for me. And at the end of the day, and I was thinking about this because I just watched the rough cut of 8. And I was just thinking about the whole series, and I've never done television. I've never done anything this big before. And it was like this really humbling moment. And I'm really proud of the show we made. And I was thinking about how it started with just this simple conversation that I had with Franny in her office. And it started from that, and then it became this kind of mosaic of all of our stories. And that, I think, is, I don't know what, at the end of the day, makes me proud to be a storyteller and to be a part of this and to be working with people who have such strong voices and put their souls into it.
Thank you.
All right, over here.
Hi, I just wanted to say that I absolutely loved it. I thought it was so beautiful and magical to be able to watch something so raw and personal. But I guess my question is for you, Zendaya. How did you find being able to transition from being in Disney to where you are now, and basically get people and producers and everybody to believe that you were more than just Disney?
I don't think there was like a strategy or something. I just knew that I had to take my time, and I had to go slow, and I had to earn my way up, and I had to, because I think, the no's count just as much as the yeses. And I think there's a lot of things that came my way that would have been nice and would have paid some bills, but it wouldn't have been very good, And And it was just about being patient, you know, and just slowly, I think, opening those doors for myself, and getting in the rooms, getting people to just see me a little bit more in a different way and a little bit more, and not ever pushing it too far, too fast. Because then I think a moment like this, if it happened too soon, people wouldn't be willing to accept it, you know? So I was lucky that this just came, I think, at the right time where I was ready to make that jump, but I wanted to just go slow. I didn't want to rush too fast to get somewhere that I didn't even know where I was going, you know, because it's all just like a steady climb, and I don't know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like there's like these characters, there's no roadmap. There's nobody that tells you how to navigate the industry as a child or as a young person. You just kind of are like, okay, like I'm doing the best I can. I think this is right, you know? And you just kind of have to rely on your instincts and on your gut feelings and just do whatever that is, you know? So just figuring it out, you know?
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. All right, over here.
Good evening. Hi. So just really quickly, there's actually about just over a dozen of us that have come from Australia to be part of the festival this year.
Oh.
And that was worth every bit of jet lag, like 100%. My question's mostly for Sam, because you're in the position where I want to be. I want to write for HBO one day. When it comes to your writing process, do you map out every scene? Do you map out what you can expect from it, or do you just naturally let it evolve? And for the beautiful cast here as well, when you get a script, do you like knowing an outline, or do you just go into it fresh and read from the beginning?
Do you have a writer's room?
No, it's I would be terrible at managing a writer's room because I don't know. Outlines feel like homework to me, and I always feel like if I know what's going to happen, then I kind of get bored. Mm-hmm. So I sort of like discovering what happens. And so, I mean, a lot of my background's in method acting, and I studied method acting for like 4 years and stuff. So I just improvise, and because it feels like there's a gun to my head. And so I know that we've got deadlines, and I have someone type, and I just dictate, and I just play every character, and I play their physical. I mean, it's really weird. It's a weird process, and like, I mean, because it's also like I'll be in the middle of a character, and then like, you know, the food gets delivered or something, and I'm still talking like, you know, like Jules would talk, and with her physicality, or Maddie, or any. It's a strange process, but whatever. Anyway, I think, yeah, it's. But for a long time, I felt like because I couldn't outline, because I couldn't structure things in the way that, you know, books had, you know, described, or, you know, like the Robert McKee shit or whatever it is, just because I just couldn't think that way. My brain didn't move that way. And I was more interested in just how the characters think. And if the characters think this way, it can go that way. Like, and after a while, I think just writing, I thought, well, this is who I am as a person. And I think just being authentic to the voice that's inside of you, and forgetting about rules, break them all, because it's what makes it boring. And we've seen all the rules before. Just keep breaking every rule you find, and just be yourself. And that's the only advice I could give. I don't know, because then it gets exciting.
Thank you.
The second part for the cast, do you guys do like an outline, or do you just go straight in and surprise yourself?
I mean,
we're new, especially me and Hunter. This is our first acting job, so I'm like, an outline? I'm not sure what that means.
You're great.
Thank you.
There are no.
I will say this though. When I read this script, Sam is also really into music. Okay, he knows his music. He has an encyclopedic knowledge of music, and music's very important to me. I love it too. I think it really helps tell the story. But in some of the stage direction, it would actually suggest or tell you to play this song, because this is the song that's happening right now. There's a couple moments in the script where it said, if you haven't heard the song, put it on right now. And this is the first script I've ever read where I actually queued up all the music and played the music while I was reading the script.
Love that.
Yeah, no, sometimes, because scripts are boring to read in general, and I also believe that like no one no executive in Hollywood, and this is no shade to anyone, I don't believe that anyone actually reads the screen direction. I think they only read the dialogue. That's just a guess, because they're all on iPads, and you just get text messages and emails and shit, so they're just skimming everything. So I try to make it the most fun read you can have. Yeah. So it's literally like, in the middle of it, just in bold, no, seriously, stop what you're doing and put on this song. Or this scene's gonna be, or I'm just describing a scene and it's be like, no, trust me, this scene's gonna be fucking amazing. And like, I'll literally just write that into the script. Because, and I don't even care about slug lines. So interior, Rue's house, whatever. Fuck it, no one's reading it. It only matters when you're in production. So it's like, just strip it all out and just don't worry if they walk into a room and look left or look right. I stopped doing it because the reason I started dictating is because I've got such bad obsessive compulsive disorder that I would just fixate on, Rue walks in, pulls her hoodie up. Now Rue walks in, she looks left. No, Rue walks in. Rue walks inside the house. And where's the comma go? And it would just 8 hours I would just spend on that line. And I was like, you know what? I can't even look at this anymore. Yeah, I love that. I'm just gonna talk it out. You do it with it. You could dictate to a computer, but just don't let your obsessiveness get in the way. Use it as a weapon, not something.
On behalf of students, then thank you for making them interesting, because they can get boring after like 6 or 7. Exactly. Thank you, guys.
All right, our final question of the evening.
My question is mostly for the actors. What is something that playing this character has taught you?
It's a good question to end on.
Thank you.
I think mostly this playing Kat really just took me back to how I was before I am myself, and that kind of teenager where you're trying things on, you don't know who you are, you don't feel confident in any aspect of you whatsoever, and kind of almost peeling back the layers of my emotional insecurities and things that I put back for so long and kind of just ignore because I, have to be an adult woman in this world and be strong for that because people will tear you apart. Kind of going back to that was very emotional and therapeutic as well.
I don't know why that question just made me so emotional. I think we're still processing here. I think, oh God. Wait, can someone go real quick?
I'll go super quick just because this probably won't end up being that important. But for me, the thing that I've sort of learned to arm myself with is if I can at the time, is the ability to stay present and in the moment with a character like Cal. I have a tendency to get in my head about a lot of stuff, but with this guy, I really need to stay focused on the now. Like I said, it wasn't going to be that interesting, but I'm bailing Hunter out here.
I remember what I was going to say now. I think as far as dealing with emotion and I remember one of Sam's first directions to me between filming the pilot and filming the rest of the season. And it was just, after our meeting and filming the pilot, he told me just to feel everything, and don't stop yourself. And that has stayed with me since then. And it has changed my life, just as far as being real with yourself and mushy and like a whole human. Yeah.
Oh. Thing I've learned. I think I'm a very, very guarded person. It's because I've been in this industry for a long time. I've been working, I have to be a professional since I was like I said, 13 years old. And so I have a sense of, block that I give myself in life, in everything, all the time. And so this does not allow, you can't do this with a block because nothing will happen. You'll suck, to be honest with you. You have to allow yourself to feel things, and I don't like doing that. I'm not a feeler, I'm not a crier, this is not who I am. It's very hard for me to get very angry, it's very hard for get me any kind of extreme emotion. I'm Zendaya, like that's, you know what I mean? That's where I live in the middle. I'm just chilling, you know? Everybody comes to me when they have issues, and I'm like, yo, it's good, like everybody's good, you know? I'm the calm one, you know? And Rue is not that. And I have to allow myself to, A, feel and know that it's okay and know that it doesn't make me weak, to know that it doesn't make me less of a strong person just because I cry sometimes. And B, not be so damn hard on myself. I'm really, really, really hard on myself. I demand so much of myself, and sometimes that can suffocate you, you know, because you're just like, that's the number one thing he tells me all the time, and it makes me cry just like that every time. He's like, stop being so damn hard on yourself, because he can tell when I'm like beating myself up, because I'm like, why am I not getting there? Why am I not sad? Why am I not emotional? Like, blah, blah, blah. Like it's happening inside of my head, and he can see it. Outside, I'm like, but inside, I'm just beating myself up, and I can't let myself feel anything. And so sometimes, and what I've learned from this is just to be a feeler, be a whole human, like Hunter said, allow myself to feel things, which is not comfortable. But sometimes it feels really good to just let it out, like let it go, and just like, it really like, it's sometimes like going to work is like going to therapy, you know, because you just can let some shit off your shoulders sometimes, you know, and Rue can take it on too. So yeah, I guess that's it. It's like being a teenager, exactly. So I guess it's real.
Thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful questions, all of you. Thank you for coming, and thank you to our wonderful talent.